Good afternoon, traders. Welcome to our trading room. I'm glad to see so many of you here. Not even all our traders are here yet, so I hope we get more people in the room, and I hope you guys can share this. Please go to the, all these videos will be on YouTube. For your own sake, go watch it again. Because while you're in the room, you understand everything, but watch it again. There's a lot of things you will miss, and there's a lot of interesting things you're going to learn if you watch it again, right? You should watch it again, and please share your comments. I'm expecting to see 52 comments on this, on all of them, telling people what you think about the trading room, because you were here, right? There is some noise out there about whether or not we actually trading our trading room, whether we do anything in here. I know the people, the haters, the people who don't like what I do, they'll come and say, hey, they don't do anything there, literally, right? Well, we do this 5 times a day. You're witness to this 3 times a day. Go tell the world, let them know what we do. You're here, you see the trades, right? You can't say, hey, we don't know what they're doing there. And my traders know, because we're here 5 times a day doing 5-6 times a day doing this. So let's go. I'm going to start with silver. We go through again. We will go through every single trade we identify. We mark them what the trade is. We will go through them and we'll tell you what we're doing with them. Those we haven't identified, we're going to go through and see their trade setups, like the Swiss. Right? Let me start with the Swiss. Remember I said we were waiting for a setup. Remember why we didn't sell it this morning? Those of you who were in? Because I tell you, once we see this here, we need this to go back up before we look for a sell setup. Perfect. You can put a sell setup here now. You can put a sell setup under the low. That's your first entry. That's a safe entry. The aggressive entry would be go to the 15 and find a flag. Right? So if this thing makes a flag anywhere here, we're selling. This is the flat now. Go back. If you haven't seen this, if you weren't there this morning when we do the session, watch morning session and make your comment. It works like magic. This is dropping, all of you freaking out, and I'm saying, hey, wait for it to come back up. Then look for your sell setup here. If we get a flag here, a 50-minute flag, we'll sell. If not, we sell here. This is the drop you want. Pretty easy, right? It's not magic. We know how these patterns behave. So now you have a flat, you have a sell setup. Remember, we're going for one more drop, probably something like this. Probably something like this, and it might start to pull back, so you'd have to take profit. You'd have to know how to take profit pretty quick. So let's go silver. Silver, we're still in the sell. We're still waiting for the sell. If this actually comes back here, if it actually comes back here, and don't drop through the bottom, but decide to go back up, we'll put a buy here. This is a small running flat. It's above this. We will take this as a deep pullback, and we will go for that buy, either to make a correction upwards into this, a deeper correction for a flat, which would mean come back here and go, or for the takeoff. Now, if you're in the room and that confused you what I said, that means you don't know wave analysis that good, right? So I'm going to go slowly. This is starting to look like a correction. So we are in the sell. If this drop, you want the sell. If they correct back to the top here, which means it comes down here and start to do this going up there, we will take the trade, we'll take a break even. It will come back here and then we'll buy it. If it actually takes off, well, this is a slow start, a deep pullback, and then it takes off like a rocket. We want to trade. We will go with this as the running flat. A slow start, and then it goes. If that confuses you, then you definitely have to learn wave analysis and the way we do it, right? Next one, euro. Excellent trade. This is what you do, close the trade. You should be closing that trade right now. If you didn't close the trade, you probably should have closed the trade here. Once I see that forming here at the top here, I'll have closed the trade there. If you didn't, close it here now. Should we sell the euro? So this is a positive. We call this break-even trade, but you actually pull out that pip out of the trade, right? So you pull out some money out of it, but call it break-even in any case. Should I sell the euro? I'm not gonna. These are the ones we call profit, the ones that move really far. Those are profit. 20, 30, 40 pips is not profit. This is how much. Yeah, that's 14 pips. That's not really profit. That's break even. Call it break even. So what we're looking for is what is happening here now. I think they're consolidating. There's a good chance that this is consolidating here. This could be the end of it. That could be a small flag and they go, or they would probably just come here, come back here, and then go. So in that case, what we do, we put an end shorter above the top. Let's put an end shorter above the top. If it takes off, we still want the trade. We do have divergence. We're aware of the divergence in the 1 hour and 15 minutes, which means at any time it can go down. We don't have a sell setup, which means I will not sell this flag at the moment. It's not the best sell, right? If it goes, we'll take the trade. Pang. We were looking for the buy, and there's a good reason we kept it above the top. You shouldn't be tagged on that one. It didn't tag you because it was making consolidation. It did go a little above, and then this became a big flat, and then this dropped, right? So now that it dropped here, if we get a buy setup here, should we take it? I think we will take this. Remember what I said this morning, it will drop. There will be two possibilities. You either get a small one like this, or you get a big one like this. Well, we can probably look at this as a 1, 2, 3 here, similar to this one, 1, 2, 3. And if we think that is a running flat, any buy setup here is a good idea. Now, do we have a buy setup there? This was a buy that we closed and we had an entry above the top. So we're going to look at this. I'll take this out so as not to confuse you. You already know it. If this thing is not, it's not going up aggressively right now, it's going up slowly. But if we see a consolidation here within the next 2 hours, that will be a trade for the upside. If it just comes here in turn, we will close it for break even. We look for a sell setup. I don't think it's going much deeper in the sell side. I think we're still trying to go up, right? This is just making a running flat here. I think that could be an easy running flat. You could always look at this as a possible running flat for upside. So we'll wait on that one. The entry above the top is not really valid. We'll try to get it from here. If we don't get it from here, then we'll take it above the top. So this I will take out for now. The buy setup wasn't valid, so we'll take it. This is still a buy. What do we do with this? This one is still a sell. Aussie. Aussie was the aggressive sell. Remember, if you have orange, it's an aggressive sell. Why? Because remember, I tell you that it will break this structure, but they might not go far. They might just do this, come here, and they might start to go back up. If it goes back up, what we're going to do, we're going to take this buy and put it here. That's a buy setup. What do you do here? Take break even. Go under 15. It broke. It's not going for, it didn't go for, this should drop. That's the idea. If it's not dropping and it's here and it's consolidating and it goes there and it comes back here, you close that trade. Right? This could be a flat for one more down. But we don't know if it's going to do it. I believe it will drop. There's a good chance this is going to drop. But if you want to sell this now, that's a different trade. You have to put the entry here. Right? You don't keep that trade, because if this turns from here and go up like that, you want the buy setup, not the sell. Now, if you follow how many of those trades we took off and we put it somewhere else and then they go the opposite direction, that's the master of the trade management we have. That's a new thing we introduced some while back, and you'll hear everybody talk about it now because it's the new thing that we created, right? This could still go up. If you want to sell, you have to put it here, and you will have to manage the same way we manage this. So if it tags you and it's not going, get the hell out of it. If it tags you and it drops, that's a good one. So for now, we have two options. You put both the buy and the sell. It can only tag one of them. Once it tags one, you take off the other, right? Both trades are valid right now, which means it can take off to the upside or it can actually drop. We do have divergence. I would put both entries on. Now, how do we put both entries here? We put it as blue. Blue means there's possibilities that you're looking for that has both ways. See? If it dropped, we're expecting it to come back and retest this low. So the trade to the downside is huge. If it's going up, we expect one more impulse like this at least. Going back to the top there, and then we'll take profit from this here. Because it could either come back down or it could consolidate here and go. See? So you wait. Yeah, there might be a small 5-minute run flat. We don't really get caught up in those little ones. It's useless. It's time consuming and there's no need for that. Just put the entry order the way you go and go with it. Same here. If you're tagged in this one, right at the bottom here, you should close it. But let's assume you didn't close it. Let's just come with a, the assumption that you didn't manage to close it. It went up, it came back, you didn't close it. It's here. When it comes back now, you're going to close that trade. You're going to put a stop here. Your stop was here, you move that. Your stop actually should have been here. Officially, your stop should be here. So now you move that stop to this level, right? Because you're trading this flag. This is the impulse. Your stop is there. Now you put the stop exactly at the top here. So once this come back here, if it drops, we stay with the trade. If it comes back slowly, we close the trade. And we've just reduced the risk. This one, if you closed it already, wonderful. I guess my traders probably did that. But if you didn't, then you're watching for this now, what it's going to do. Is it going to drop? If you close the trade and you still want to re-enter, you put it here now. But if you didn't close it, we'll leave it where we didn't close it. We leave it there. We'll see what happens to this, right? So we will make an assumption we didn't close it. You're going to wait to see how we get break even on the trades like that. Swiss, perfect sell setup. From a setup to a sell setup. If we get an earlier flag, somebody tell me, please, if it makes an earlier flag, put the entry there. But if we get a flag earlier, one of my traders just send me in. Use your microphone, let me know, and we'll deal with that. CAD. We close the CAD one and we put the sell here. It's still a valid sell. Right? It didn't trigger, but it's still a valid sell, so we will leave it. Right? This could go up more. I'm not interested in the buy. This could probably go up here and probably do this. We will move the entry order upwards for the sell. Remember this morning I explained that, right? If you were not here this morning, you don't understand the pattern. Go watch that recording. It's on YouTube, but make sure you make a comment. It's called something channel. Right? This now, if this goes up here, we'll try to get it from here if it's coming down back. It's not taking off as yet. Any takeoff will have to be a buy here or a flag out of the structure. I'll explain that later. Yen. Okay, we got tagged on the yen. No big deal. Remember the bigger structure we spoke about? We wanted this move. We wanted this to go tag the top, but we still kept it. Now, can it actually tag this here and go back up there, make a flat, and then drop? I think so. I'm looking at it when I saw it and I said, well, you know what? This actually looks like a flat of its own. And if that's the case, this will go back up. Your stop should be here or at the top there. I explained that this morning why you want to do that, right? Because it could go back to this top. You don't want it to go tag you and drop. So in this case, we'll look to close the trade. If it tags you and it's not going, you go to the 1 hour, it's not going anywhere. You want to get rid of this trade. You don't want to live with this trade and watch it come here and then drop. Because if we close it for a few pips lost here, but when it gets to this top, we actually sell it here. By the time you get back to where you would have been break even, you already have that much profit. See? And when you take a flag here, the stop is going to be here. That's a different strategy. You take a flag here in this flat, your stop is, so by the time you get to the bottom here, you already have 2 to 1. You have twice of what you risk. In this case, if you close here with your stop here, even if you double your risk, right? You didn't lose much. You lose about 0.1% of what you're risking. It's pretty small, right? So that's the point. Look, we're waiting to close this. You go into 15 and you watch this. If it's coming down really sharp, you leave it. What you can also do if you want to get more aggressive is put the stop here now. This is your risk now. If it goes up like this, you get rid of the trade there. If it comes lower, you take it off a break even. Or you can close it anywhere here if you want. So I sometimes leave this option to my traders to make that decision, depending on their skill level and where they are. But these are the options. You can put a stop here. That means you minimize your risk to this instead of where it was. You can close the trade here and accept this loss. Right? Those are the 2 options. Or you can wait for this to come back a little more and then close it here. Well, if you put the stop here and it comes lower, you will close it, but you will close that trade. Don't allow it to go above this. That's the point, right? Take the loss, because if it goes higher, you will sell it higher. We're still going to sell this. Now, what happens if it just drops to the bottom? Good for you. If you have your stop there, that's okay. If you close it here, put an entry under the low. Always, if you close that trade, put an entry under the low. So we will come back to this. We're going to work with both. We're going to work with, we didn't close it. So let's work with, we put a stop here and we are waiting for this to come down. So you will see how that works, right? That's your stop. You're willing to accept that loss now. If it goes up above that, from here, you move the stop to this level. And if it goes higher, you want to be out of that trade. If it comes lower, we'll take the trade, right? So you will see, you'll literally see live how that is done, right? If it drops to the bottom, we stay with the trade. I believe it's going to go back up because right now this looks, remember I told you this looks very much like a correction of its own here. So you've got this, it could still go a little more and then come back, which would give you a break even if you're lucky. Go back to the top there and then we sell from the top there, right? Can we buy it? We don't have a buy setup. You're in New Zealand, we took an aggressive trade yesterday. If you were in here, we took this aggressive trade. We are keeping it. If you were here this morning, you should have taken this trade. I explained that. If not, you can put an entry for a trade here now. Right? If you miss all of that, put an entry for a buy here now. this potentially has very, very big up move, and it's going to move really, really slow. So if you took this trade, you should take that trade as well. This trade, you put this stop here. For this trade, put this stop here. And for this trade, you put the stop there. As soon as you're tagged with this, it might pull back, right? I looked at it, there's a possibility it might pull back and then go. Don't worry about the first pullback. If it makes a flag, you close that trade there and you keep this one at break even. Right? So the idea is we can get maximum amount of trades in this one as it goes up, right? You're trying to get maximum amount of trades. So if this thing is going to climb as fast as this one went, and that is what we were expecting, if it is going to climb as fast as this went up like this, see this here? If it is going to end up going like that, you're going to see a lot of pullback on the 1 hour and 4 hour, but all of them will keep going up. So you can end up with dozens of trade here going. Eventually, if there's any deep pullback, we will take off some trades, we'll keep some, and you can get all these trades going to that level. You will keep moving those stops. So if there's a deep pullback, you'll take out all the trade, you start from the bottom again, going back, building up the trades to that level. Right? When we see possibilities like this, we build trades into them. Right? Simple, simple. Let's go. Go to the 1 hour. You have an entry order there you can go with now. So you should have another entry order. It's consolidating. That's your next entry order. If you have this one, don't put that one. Right? If you have this one, you're away from it. Why this one? Because you can already put the stop here. You don't have any risk on this trade. That's your profit with zero risk. This is like a new trade. Right? So you put that one on. Let's go. Euro CAD. So you can move this to break even now. It's going back up. This one is going back up. We close this one here. We close this. We close it somewhere here. We put an entry here. You can close this trade here and put an entry here if you want. Or you can, if you're keeping this, you can put it to break even. I would probably close it. Let me see if we have divergence still. I think we still have some divergence here. No, not really. The divergence is not there. So you can actually put it to break even and keep it if you want. So you have two choices here, and this is where traders will differentiate between themselves, who, you know, what your capacity is, how how you can handle risk, your experience, your knowledge, everything. You can say, you know what, I think this is going to go, so I'll put the break even and I accept the break even if it comes back down. But if you're not that experienced, I would say to you, close the trade here and put an entry order above the top. See? So we'll go into 15 minutes and see what it looks structurally. It looks like, oh yeah, you've got a 1, 2, 3. You can make an argument for this being a small flat, and this would probably go. It could still consolidate here for a while more and then go. If it stays there, it still will go. It could take you out for break even. You could break even. You would still put an entry here if you take break even. But if you want, you can take that profit out and put an entry above the top. So we're going to do that. We're going to assume you close it and put an entry there, and we'll manage that one, right? You can also make an assumption that, what if I didn't close it? How would I manage it? Would it be a break-even trade? Or would it go? And, you know, as you're developing your skills and your knowledge and testing your ability to handle risk, you can do both. You can take half off, leave half there, and put the next entry above the top and see what happens, right? Traders are not, they're not unique. They're not alike. They're unique. Every trader will have his own skills, his own technique, his own money management, his own risk management, but we have a general concept in here. The analysis is the same for all of us, and then we decide what we do with that, how much we're willing to handle, right? How successful you are so far, how much you're struggling, and then you will decide what trades you're taking. One of the questions I got asked, how do you manage so many trades? And I explained this morning, the idea is that most of my traders don't take all the trades. None of my traders take all the trades, but a lot of them will put all the entry orders on. And they will take the first 4 that kicks in, or the first couple that kicks in. Because if you put all the entry orders and we put in this morning, you made profit in 3 trades, and you're closing some for break even. Right? You made good profit on 3. We'll show you the trades that are good profitable trades. Euro is not a bad profitable trade. You could call Euro break even. You have Pound Yen that went very nice. You have the Euro Pound that went very nice. And I think one more, so we'll find it. Let's go. Here, so these are the trades that you get that didn't really go very well, but you manage your way out of them. You're still in them, right? So this one went, you closed the trader, you took a small profit out of that, and you're waiting for this. Euro Pound, this is an excellent trade. This one went perfect, and I think you can call it a very profitable trade. See? So now that it's at the top there, you can make a decision here now. some of my traders, the very aggressive traders, closed it here already and have an entry there. If you didn't do that, this is your chance to close it here and put an entry above the top, right? This is your chance to close this trade, put an entry above the top. What if it keeps going? You will be in the trade. What if it stops from here and turn back? I think there's a good chance they can stop, come back here, do this. And if you start to see this like this, right? We'll go for another. What if it goes slowly, tag you like this and start to pull back? Close the trade again. Put an entry above the top. Something will show you. You have to stay here the whole week and then you're going to see it. There's some questions. I'll answer them just after we finish the recording, right? Don't worry. We'll come back to the charts. You tell me which chart it is and we'll come back to it. Pong Yen, amazing trade. Should I close this trade? Well, I wouldn't have closed it, but if my trade is, because this is what we call the first pullback. You don't close on the first pullback. But if you closed it here, you have an entry here. If not, this could literally drop. So where we were expecting this to go, we took that trade there this morning. In the trading room, you're witness to that. You were there. Good trade. I expect this to first come and break this low. That's the minimum. It will come and break this low. Can you put an entry order here for that trade? Not a good idea. You have to put a stop here. And then this is all you will probably get before it goes back up, because this could be a flat and it could go back up. Can it drop straight to the bottom? Maybe, but you're not trading a maybe, right? You're trading a higher probability. Your idea is I should take higher probability trades, not trades that are maybe. So if you're in that trade, great. Let's say you were in the trade and you close it, you should put that entry order there. Because this entry order is not your first trade. This is a continuation of this trade. You just took off the profit and you have the same trade going. So if they tag you here and pull back like this, you can take break even here. Even if you have to take a small loss here, that is okay because you already booked that profit. So it's the same trade, you took out a little bit of. But if you're putting your first entry now, you're setting yourself up for trouble. Right? Because remember we said we wanted to come only to about this level, and I believe they'll drop to that level. And then there's a high probability they could go back up like this. See, this becomes a flat and they go back up. We don't know that for sure. Because if there's a contracting flat anywhere in here, it will keep dropping. Contracting flats are very, very difficult to forecast because there's always a contracting flat. Well, not always. Most times there could be a contracting flat there. If you forecast it in advance, you'll get yourself in trouble. So we will keep it as probably making a flat and let it prove us wrong. So if we're wrong, it's going to keep dropping. We're okay with that. Pong Cad. Well, I think I made a really, well, not a mistake, but we should have kept it. It went too high, so that's why we took it off, right? It did drop well. So here's what we're going to do. We're expecting this move down, and then we were expecting one more move up, just like the Pong Yen. See? So there's a good probability that this might drop, but we are not going to sell this because again, it did. You see this here, if you sold that, it dropped, pull back, so, and then it goes back up. So you can make a few small pushes here and then go back up. If I'm going to sell this, it has to break out of the structure now. It has to literally come out of the structure, make a flag here, and then I'll sell. Confirming the downside totally. But I think there's a very high probability it's going to go back one more up. So I'll be careful of any selling this now. I'll take this off, but it was a really good setup this morning. It's a pity it didn't drop immediately. It went back to the top and we took it out, right? Pong New Zealand, somebody was asking about. Yep, we expect this to drop. We didn't have a setup. It dropped, no problem. I don't know if any of my traders went lower and took the trade, but it did drop. It's in this here. I think we will probably look at this as a running flat here. And that means this coming down here will definitely go back up because this looks very much like a correction. And the probability of this going up is very high. So if you look at Pong Yen could probably go back up, Pong Cad could probably go back up, Pong New Zealand could probably go back up. There is a good chance the Pong dollar will go back up too. That's what we're looking, right? So this could probably come a little more here and then go back here. This is not a trade we'll take. If I'm going to take this trade, it has to break through the structure, make a flag here. And now I'll take this to break this low. Risk to reward has to be in the trade before you take it. This doesn't have risk to reward here because you have to put your stop here. So it goes, you're making money in the Pong Yen, right? You don't have to make your money in all of them, which is good. From that point, we'll see what happens. Actually, if this comes down here, like you see how this one actually dropped really sharp before it goes back up. If this makes a sharp drop here and then go back up, make this flag here, this flag, we will definitely buy this to the upside. And we might even consider whether we can look at these as two separate corrections or a running flat. I think two separate corrections, not a running flat, two separate corrections. Aussie Yen. We sold it. Let's see what it's doing. You probably would close this trade. Let me see how much hours it is. 1, 2, 3, but it's coming down. So you can probably still keep it. You wouldn't close it on the first pullback. We never closed on the first pullback. Right? The first pullback is not where you close it. Then you wait for this to start making flag to close. Or if it drops, you stay with it. So you will literally put this trade at break even now and leave it. Right? That trade should go to break even and stay where it is. If it drops through this bottom here, we will stay with it all the way to the bottom. So this could become a very, very successful trade here now. Actually, if you're not in the trade, you can put an entry order here for this trade to come to this level. We wouldn't put the entry order there now. Break this low. So you might get this trade. It's not a flag. It's a very small pullback. So it's better if you wait for a flag. But if you want to get aggressive, right, you can put it there. We are at break even. So if it actually tags the low here and decide to go back up, we will not be in that trade, right? Well, you learned something. There's Zahib. Zahib just said he made a lot of mistake closing in the first pullback. You see now, you learned something. You will never make that mistake again. Don't close on your first pullback, because the concept is after the first pullback, it will have to either make a flag downwards to continue to go up, and that's your exit strategy. You can close at a much better place, and most times you can close at break even, depending on where you're buying and selling, right? And in some cases, it just turns and drop, or turns and go back up, and you're in profit again. So all of you learned something there. You didn't waste your time coming to the room for nothing, right? So look at that. Don't do that. It's not. If you understand wave analysis, you will never make that mistake again. Good. So this can drop now. We'll put it to break even. We'll leave it. Aussie Cad. Aussie Cad, we bought it. We thought this was all the correction it's going to go, and this one is closed for a loss. So you should close this trade right here now for a loss. That's where the stop is. So this is the loss in that trade. You would either had your stop here or your stop here. So you were risking this much. You lost about, I don't know, 40 to 50% of what you were risking. So if you're risking 1% of your account, you lost 0.5. We made 5 or 4 winning trades so far, 1 loss. That's okay. So this one is coming more. I don't want to sell. You can actually sell it. Some of you can put a sell there, but it's an aggressive sell, because this still looks very corrective, right? This still looks very corrective. So it could come a little more here, but there's a chance it could go back up. So if you're taking that sell, it's only if you have a winning account and you're very aggressive. Then you will have to know how to manage it, right? I think at some point we might see more up into that. The bigger picture should be downside, but I don't think it's finished, because I believe this, even if it comes here, we'll probably make one more up. We'll look at this as a possible running flat, and then up there before it comes down. So keep an eye on that if you're selling it, right? New Zealand CAD. This is a break even. Also, this is a one we bought, but this is a break even because this just didn't tag you and pull back. It tag you, come here, go back up there, you close the trade. It's a small flag. We're not selling it. See, we're not selling these small flags. They'll probably do this, and then we'll get the buy. So stay off of this trade. That is a break even one. We'll take it off. We don't have any trade now. And you close that for break even. It's still upside. I still think we're going to go up some more. I don't see the downside in it as yet. It's pulling back. This one actually pulled back pretty deep before it goes. I could see that pullback coming some more, but not a lot more to the downside. This was a buy, by the way. This one was the buy we took. So you took profit out of that one. So this was your profit, and this was your loss. Well, it's a break even. It's not a loss because you close it for break even there, right? But even if you didn't close it, you close it now, which is very good, right? We're looking for the buy setup. We don't have a buy setup as yet. New Zealand yen, we were waiting for a setup to sell, and it did give you the setup. This is the setup, this pullback. You're waiting for that pullback, make a running flat, you put an entry for a sell here. So those who were in this morning, remember I said, don't put any sell setup unless you get that pullback. Now you put a sell setup here. If this still drops, if this drops, we go with that running flat. Somebody asked a question about the running flats, right? So this is the running flat. If this drops, we're in the trade. What if it goes up? We'll look for a buy, but we don't have a buy setup, right? But right now, if this drop, you want that trade. Where will it take us? We're expecting this move down. So it could probably just come to about here and then go right back up. All of them have this pattern. All the yen pairs have that pattern. I'll show you again. We'll go through all the yen pairs again, and I'll show you the patterns. CAD yen, we took the sell. I don't know if anybody got tagged in. Anybody got tagged in the CAD yen here? we have it under this low. Depending on your broker. Anybody in the room got tagged in it? Because then I'll tell you what to do with it, right? Okay, seems nobody got tagged, but let's assume you got tagged. Let's assume you had that entry and you got tagged. It pulled back like this. See this first drop here? That's not the first pullback is not your problem. This is where you start to look at this move. This move is pretty sharp, right? Two things are going to happen after that. Either this will start to consolidate here. You close it to the bottom there, take this loss. Or this one is going to start to drop again. And if it drops again, when it comes to this area, if it goes too strong, you stay with the trade. If it stops anywhere here to pull back, close the trade for breaking. Right? So we want, when we put an entry like this, we want it to drop straight through. You don't want it to tag you and pull back. So right now, this is what you're looking at. Your stop for your entry is here. Your stop for this trade should be here or higher, right? It pulled back. Now you're watching here. What happens if this consolidates here? It's going to drop here. It's probably going to go back up. You close the trade. If this is the running flat, and I think that could be a small running flat, this would just drop through. Then you will put the trade to break even, and you will leave it. So we'll remind me to come back and manage this trade again, right? Before we left today. And let's see this one. Well, it's still a sell, but it's not there as yet. This is still a sell setup. It's just not there as yet. It's going up some more, I think. Probably might even go back. You keep the entry order here for the sell. So it's still valid, right? And these, somebody said US 30, they were asking if the buy is valid above the top. Yes, we closed this. If you were in this buy, if you're in this buy yesterday, you should close it here or close it right now and put an entry above the top. If this makes a sell setup here, we'll sell it. Which means if we get a flag there, we will sell it. There's no flag there to sell it yet, right? Same here. We close the trade here. You close. Remember, we had an entry above this top or above this top. You close the trade, you put an entry above the top. Here, if we get a sell setup, we will take it. We don't have a sell setup. It looks like a running flat. This piece looks like a running flat here. But we had a better running flat than another one. So maybe an entry order here for this sell is not a bad idea if it drops. Yep, we could probably do that. Take off this and put an entry order here for a sell. I'll change this to sell. We have a sell on NASDAQ this morning, right? Because if this drops here, now we'll go with the running flat. Right? So you're looking at this. So we're looking at this, and if it is a running flat, we don't know that it is. If it's a running flat, this becomes a good sell. Right? This could be all the correction you get. And the same thing we had on NASDAQ. So we actually put the sell on NASDAQ. We have the sell here under the low. We were waiting for this to go back up, and it did go back up. We're looking at this as a possible running flat. If this drops, you want the trade. Right? The entry above the top, you can take it off now. If we're going to buy, we'll have to buy with a flag. Take this off. If we're going to buy, if there's any buy setup, you want this to go here, make a flag like this, and then we're going to take that trade up to break this top. We'll get this correction, then we sell. See? Pretty easy. Not that difficult. Actually, you had some nice trades here on Monday, if you were here. So that was yesterday. That's it for all of these. If you're in any other trades, we'll look at them. So what I would do now is stop that recording. That recording will be in YouTube. Then we're going to look for trade setups. So the trade setups will not be in YouTube. Tomorrow we'll deal with them. You guys can go leave your comments. So what I'll do is let me stop the recording.